and a very good morning to you all. I hope you guys are doing really well today. It is Tuesday. You are with me, Maha Mukhtoom, and the wonderful Shahzad Khan. Shahzad, how are you?
Hello, assalamu alaikum. I'm absolutely perfect, and thank you very much for the lovely introduction.
It's very short. It's not, it's not as energetic and it's not as all-encompassing as yours.
But then at the same time, well, it's not necessary because we are a team. We work as a team. But then at the same time, when you get to hear that you're a wonderful person, early in the morning when you're starting your day, I think this is what makes your day, and this is what actually makes you look up to, or probably, to go throughout the day as well. But then the weather over here in Islamabad is superb, amazing, fantabulous.
Today it is.
As
Last
well,
night it was really humid.
Yes, it was. But, so let's just talk about today.
Okay, yeah, sorry. I'm one of those, like, I can go between being in a really good mood today or things are going to go very bad.
No, but everything's going to be perfect. But other than that, how are you?
I'm okay. Like, I managed to injure myself on the weekend, and I'm in a lot of pain, but I'm trying to be positive, but it's really hard because I can't really walk properly. And when people keep downplaying, oh, it's fine, it's like, I know it's fine, but right now, currently, I just like to have a bit of like empathy and sympathy. I'm feeling sorry for myself, basically.
It'll be there, and even today, right after the show, I'm very sorry. I think I'm going to apologize that I went to see.
Oh yeah, they ditched me yesterday,
I went
so
to
I was
see
just
a
carrying
very
everything.
Own guest off, but then at the same time, I'll be here. Don't worry.
That's fine.
Everything will be picked up. But then on another note, what we're going to do today is that, as you know, that, in the start of the show, we've got this particular segment which is dedicated to Ramadan and the teachings of Quran. That's what it is. But then today we've got something very interesting to share, and that is whether are we living up to the Prophet's legacy or not, which I think I am not.
No, I'm not. I mean, after yesterday, it's funny because like after yesterday's show as well, like really these shows are making me very reflective, and I am not at all. And the thing is, when you look around you as well, you see people doing a lot of good, but we are just not even anywhere close. And the thing is not to be exactly like him. Even if we can do even 1%, I think that we would be, we would be on the right track, because there was so much kindness, so much tolerance.
Yeah, and then other than that, there's a concept of particular exercises which are furs on you, which means that you are to do that. There's no other way around it. So half of the time what I've seen is that there are people, they might not even probably do what is actually furs on them, but then they'll be like that, we have done this, or we have helped other amount of people, and that's what makes them think that they'll probably end up in heaven. Whether is it like that or is it not, I think that's what we'll discuss today.
Exactly. And the whole concept of heaven and hell, at the end of the day, that's up to God to decide, Allah Ta'ala to decide. So we can't even say that. All we can do is try and do the best and good deeds on this earth, so that when the final day of judgment is there, we will, our good will outweigh the bad. But another thing is that these shows are not here to judge anyone. It's not here to say that you are wrong, this is right, this is wrong, this is right. It's just to give you reference points and to show you that there's a lot of information out there. We need to learn, we need to read, we need to increase our knowledge in order to be the best human beings we can.
And for that, obviously, you'll have to do your own research in this context probably. But then on another note, what I've observed, since we are moving on with the second ashra as well, which is about maghfirat, and then half of the time I've seen a lot of my friends or family members saying to somebody else who's probably not fasting that, oh, why are you doing this and why are you not doing this and that. I think that's none of your concern. By the end of the day, it is in between you and your Allah. That's it. So, so if somebody has been bothering you with such questions, or probably whenever you're going to turn up to your office and people are going to ask you whether you're fasting or not, you can actually tell them that this is none of your concern.
Exactly. And with that, we're going to introduce to you our wonderful, also part of the team now, and he's going to introduce what we're going to be discussing, and hopefully it won't be too scary for early in the morning. So we'll be joined by Yousuf Raza. Assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Salam, good
Welcome
morning.
back again.
Thank you so much.
What are we discussing today?
How
are you two? First,
I'm good. We're gonna take it up from where we left off yesterday, because we need to understand that believing in a prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and respecting him and honoring him is not like believing in a superhero. I can have a liking for Spider-Man and Superman, get a woo out of all the stories that I see and all the heroics that I see, but that's not what believing in prophets is about. It puts a level of responsibility on me, and unfortunately we don't realize that yes, it is a great blessing, it is a great honor, but with great power comes great responsibility, and that's not just true for Spider-Man. That's true in any case, and that's how we're supposed to look at things. Unfortunately, we look at that power or that affiliation or that blessing and just it's a self-satisfying feeling, and whatever teachings we do get, they become some things with which we see others and judge others. Rather than reflect upon ourselves and where we need to be, we dispel our anxiety, that our guilt for not living up to our responsibility puts in us. We dispel that anxiety by just, projecting onto others. Look at him, look at her, look at her.
So, and this question is too early on because we haven't actually started the discussion, but once we've done this discussion, at the end, I would like you to give an idea, because you are a psychiatrist as well. And I want to know that why is it that, when people try to go more towards religion or look at religious texts, they become this more judgmental this kind of superiority complex, is awoken in them. So can we address that afterwards?
Sure, we will.
Okay,
We will.
Yes.
We'll come around to that as well.
Perfect.
Right. So now I'll just read out the ayah to you, and we'll start with how it's relevant. This is Surah Yunus. It's in the 11th juz. And this is ayah number 98. Actually, the only ayah that mentions Yunus alayhi salam, the prophet Jonah, is mentioned, is the surah is named after him, and this ayah mentions him. How does that relate to what we were talking about yesterday and the entire institution of prophethood and our legacy from the last prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? We'll talk about that. So the ayah says, "A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. فَلَوْلَا كَانَتْ قَرْيَةٌ آمَنَتْ فَنَفَعَهَا إِيمَانُهَا إِلَّا قَوْمَ يُونُس." That there has not been a single city that has believed such that its faith benefited it except the people of Yunus. What that means is that when the signs of the punishment come for the nation that has rejected the prophet, and at that time if somebody says, "I believe," it doesn't count. Fir'aun, when he was drowning, the Pharaoh, when he was drowning, and he said, "I believe in the God of Musa," like, no.
Too late, dude.
Too late, not gonna work. And he was very sincere at that point, but you know what? Now you've done all that you had to do, and now you're saying, "I believe," al-an, and now Quran says it's now, and before this you were doing whatever you were doing, so it doesn't matter, except there is an exception, and that is the people of Yunus. Why did the people of Yunus alayhi salam get exempted? That they saw adhab, they said, "We believe," and it was accepted from them where it was not accepted from anyone else. And this goes back to what Yunus alayhi salam himself did. He was so frustrated with his people, he was so angry with his people for his continuous, persistent, sincere effort. People are not responding, and he just left them. He got on a ship and he's like, "I'm going, I got nothing to do with you guys are getting the adhab of Allah," and that's it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had not given him permission. Allah had not given him permission to leave, and because he did not fulfill his responsibility that his honored position of prophethood demanded of him, it went to the credit of his people. It went to the credit of his people, and they got another chance.
So
and this is a beautiful highlight of free will as well within Islam, because he didn't have permission, but he left anyway.
Exactly. So the prophet himself has to live up to responsibility. He has the freedom. The Quran repeatedly says this, that the prophet had to believe. Amana Rasul. Prophet believed. And it is to his credit that he believed. Yeah. And the prophet is told repeatedly in the Quran that, "Tell them, O prophet, in asaytu, if I disobey God, then inni akhafu, that I am afraid from him of a very painful punishment." That I have this freedom, and if I go wrong, then I have a problem.
It was his responsibility.
It was his responsibility. Yunus alayhi salam is now on the ship. The people on the ship are going through some tough times. The ship is sinking, or the ship is going through a storm or rapids or whatever. All of that is happening, and they're saying someone's on this ship who's not supposed to be here. Yunus alayhi salam sort of gets an idea, maybe they're talking about me. And then they draw lots, and the repeated lots, Yunus alayhi salam's name comes out. They're like, "You gotta get off. You're making a..." He gets off, he has to jump the ship, and a whale swallows him.
Yes.
And he has to stay in the belly of the whale and repent before Allah. Surah Anbiya quotes him, "La ilaha illa anta subhanak inni kuntu min al-zalimin." Ya Allah, there is no God but you. Glory be to you. I was wrong. Again, we find in the Prophet's legacies, in their example, their human side, their weaknesses. They made mistakes as well. They had guilt as well. But their guilt they did not project onto others.
Exactly.
If anyone had a right, he had the right. I've spent so many years talking to my people, giving them the message. They didn't listen. They were obnoxious. They were arrogant. They tortured me and my... Yunus alayhi salam didn't do that. He said, Ya Allah, my fault. My fault, forgive me. So I get a human role model. So I can emulate. In any case, how do we relate that to our understanding? So we understand the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his role as a prophet. And see how Yunus alayhi salam's example and the example of all other prophets, the responsibility that the Messenger felt upon himself, that if I don't do the job right, these people are not responsible, I am responsible. I am responsible. Me doing the job right means these people get punished. And so the nature of the Prophet and the kind-hearted person that he was just, that would just bring tears to his eyes. And there is an incident that one of the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum, he was reciting the Quran. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him, recite to me. He's like, Ya Rasulullah, it was revealed to you. You want me to recite it to you? He said, yes, I like to hear it from other people. And so he started reciting, and he's reciting Surah Nisa. He's reciting Surah Nisa, the Messenger is listening, so it's, Quran, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a Sahabi. He's reciting to the point where he sees that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam's eyes are streaming with tears, and he says, Hasbuk, Hasbuk, enough, enough, no more. I can't hear anymore. What was that ayah that he stopped him on? The ayah says, فَكَيْفَ إِذَا جِئْنَا مِن كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ بِشَهِيدٍ وَجِئْنَا بِكَ عَلَى هَؤُلَاءِ شَهِيدًا. How will it be that from every community we raise a witness against them, and we will raise you, O Prophet, as a witness against these people? And he is crying, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I will have to give testimony against my people. I will have to bear witness against my people, which will condemn them. Which will condemn them. And that gives us an understanding of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And again, when he did the last Hajj, he asked people explicitly again and again, Ala hal ballaghtu? Have I conveyed the message? They said, yes, you have. He said, Ala hal balagh? Again, repeatedly, have I conveyed the message? Have I communicated the message? The Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum realized how important this was for him. As if to relieve him of the burden that he was feeling, they said, Bala nashhad, we bear witness, of course you did deliver the message. Innaka qad ballaghta ar-risalata wa addayta al-amanata wa kashafta al-ghummata wa nasahta al-ummah. They are people who do not usually respond to the questions of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They usually say, Allah and His Messenger know best. Ya Rasulullah, you're asking us, you know better. But now he's asking, they realize he has to have a very explicit answer, so he feels relieved of the burden. They said, Ya Rasulullah, you have delivered the message.
So even the Prophet had to do that.
They had to do that. And then the Prophet told them, فَلْيُبَلِّغُ الشَّاهِدُ الْغَائِبُ. Whoever is present takes it to those who are not present. Now my responsibility shifts on to my people who claim to believe in me. It's no longer my responsibility. I did my job. Now you got to do your job. The Messenger ﷺ can claim on the Day of Judgment in front of Allah, Ya Allah, I tried my best, you bore witness, these people bear witness. These people bear witness. Can we make the same claim? And when we cannot make the same claim, do we get punished? There are 3 ways the Quran says that nations are punished.
Yeah, go ahead.
let's find out what's in store.
And it's nations, it's not individuals as well.
Adhab comes from above them, or from beneath them, or Allah splits them into groups, and the groups fight with one another.
Okay, let's repeat that again.
Number 1, Adhab comes from atop of them, maybe a flood. It rains and flood and they're flooded.
Catastrophe.
Like a catastrophe like that. Or something from beneath them, maybe an earthquake, earth splits open, whatever. Something like that.
Or fire, or volcanoes start erupting.
All of those things.
Yeah.
Number 3, they split up into groups and factions or sects. One sect at the, fighting with the other, killing the other, shedding the blood of the other. We're enveloped in the third one.
For example, my team and Maha's team start fighting that, we need time to speak on the show.
A little bigger than that.
So basically, these things have been happening.
These things have been happening, and if anything,
like
the third of them is something which is most predominant among the Muslim world.
But that's been around for a while, though.
It's been around for a while because we haven't been doing our job.
Okay.
The understanding is we like to think they're non-Muslims, we're Muslims. They're bad, we're good. They deserve punishment, we deserve reward. They deserve hellfire, we deserve... It's not that simple.
That's exactly not how the Prophet has actually told us.
They were worried about themselves. They were worried about themselves. Do I get the message across? And the sign of me having not gotten the message across is that I am suffering, I am being punished. As a nation, I am the most humiliated nation on the face of this planet. Let's wake up and smell the coffee. If there's any blood being shed, if anyone is suffering, if the most corrupt people, the most intolerant people, the most obnoxious people, the most arrogant people, the greatest liars, and the most not, the people who don't fulfill their trust, they're not trustworthy.
And then they used to take their responsibility as well.
And they're now, and we're projecting onto others and saying they're bad. On what account? Have we even realized that there are people who have genuine problems with religion, have genuine problems with Islam, and have we even tried to comprehend the problems that they have? They're posing questions, they want to learn, they want to know. We're not even willing to understand their questions. Like, Quran has been there, you need to read it on your own, you need to understand it on your own, it's your responsibility. Again, the world that we're living in seriously doubts the credibility of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam based on our actions, based on what we've done, based on how Islam
Actions of Muslim Ummah.
Actions of Muslim Ummah, and how Islam has been projected internationally, globally, and they have serious doubts about who he was as a person. You have at an academic level serious questions that have been raised with regards to the credibility of religion. We feel very proud, very educated when we come here and we talk about Freud and fasting. Do we realize that if you take Freud to his logical conclusion, in his framework, religion is not even possible?
Yeah. No, but another thing is, within the academic sphere, if anything, there's a little bit more understanding. I mean, in the actual people who are actually doing the research, who are actually studying religion and theology and everything, there is, because I've seen a lot of these videos and clips of professors and Catholic professors and teachers of Christianity saying that actually this person was a great human being who did great for the women of that time, who did great for the society of that time. However, when you get away from the academic sphere, come into the social and the public space, that's where it's all going wrong. Because it seems that the references, the way that people are learning it, it's very different to what we're talking. Like what we're talking about here. Now, put on. I'm sorry, I'm doing this, but put on any other channel. There are certain. Everything's sensationalized. Everything's about drama. Everything's about. There's also some vulgarity on some of these channels today. I mean, one of the biggest morning show hosts, I don't understand what's happening there. So we are representing, but then we say, well, we're actually students of the religion, we're this and we're that, and we hold certain positions. So how do we get rid of this? How do we now apply it?
And then at the same time, just to add on to what you said.
Sorry, I'm getting frustrated.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good and a very valid point. But then at the same time, for all those people who are actually the keepers of all of this knowledge, are on those shows, and I've never ever heard them condemning what their actions are all about. I've never ever been a witness to that. And they would actually love to be on those shows just because of the fact that they might get more students.
Okay.
See, just if I may. The thing is, when you're in public and when you're supposed to do something for the public, where there is public interaction, you give what sells. That's true for media, that's true for politics, that's true for medicine. If a patient comes to me and he's expecting me to give him a medicine and he's only going to adhere to my credibility or accept my credibility if I give him like 10 medications, then a lot of doctors will give them 10 medications, even if they don't need it.
But that's not in line with what our teachings are.
Exactly, because that's what sells. In media, people like a particular sensational kind of a perspective and they like entertainment. I'm not going to give them what they need. I'm going to give them what they want. That's true for religion as well. People like to hear, you're the best, you're so great, they are condemned, they are evil, the world is out to get us, it is their conspiracy, it is their planning against us. People love to hear that we don't have to do anything and we're poor little products of other people's conspiracy. And we're forgiven, and they love hearing that. So they love giving them that.
Okay.
Anyone who gives them a sense of responsibility,
they don't like it.
And also another example that comes to mind, I'm sorry to bring this up, but there was another talk show going on, and one of the respected scholars of Islam from a certain organization threatened a female, like literally
Oh, yeah,
threatened
I've
to
seen
beat
that.
her. Everyone knows about this. No, it's not funny at all. And like, I mean, that's your representation of
Exactly.
your, this is what you're representing of your Prophet, peace be upon him. This is what you're showing the rest of the world, that where you are mentally. Now, back then, I mean, how were they treated? I mean, how did the Prophet,
They were
peace be upon him,
treated so
treated his
amazingly
wives?
that even Prophet used to go out for a walk with Hazrat Aisha. And
He used
then-
to race with her.
Yeah, they used to race together.
with her. He was carrying her on her
Yeah.
shoulders and show her a carnival.
Yeah, they'll tell Sahaba to move on, and then they'll go racing as well.
So, I mean,
And then he used to lose intentionally as well, that, it's all right. But ladies and gentlemen, right now, since at the start of the show we said that we'll be talking about how to live up to that legacy. But right now, ladies and gentlemen, we need to go for a short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more teachings from Quran.
welcome back, everyone. And before the break, we have been in discussion about the teachings of the Quran, and we're talking about how it's relevant in the 21st century. How do we apply it? What are the repercussions of not applying such, some of it's very logical, and some of it's it's all it's all about humanity. It's all humanism. It's all, it's very socially. You can understand
It's all about
it.
societies, nation, and then how do they actually need to progress, and then they're having a leader who's actually been sent by Allah upon you to teach you, but then at the same time the sense of responsibility, and then all of those people being at stake of that leader's responsibility, I think makes you so vulnerable that it is a very difficult task to fulfill.
Exactly, and I think it's a really good point that you highlighted, that, and what we've highlighted today is that it's also to do with the leader as well. There is a lot of responsibility when you also accept that role of making sure that you are taking people down the right path, and you're teaching them the right things, and you're also providing them with more information than less information. So let's continue and conclude this.
Right. So
verse.
what we when the Messenger ﷺ gives this responsibility to his people, and he says, now whoever is present takes it to whoever is absent. And we see ayat in the Quran reflecting this as well. وَيَكُونَ الرَّسُولُ شَهِيدًا عَلَيْكُمْ وَتَكُونُوا شُهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ. So that the messenger bears witness against you, and you stand as witnesses against humanity. The link between humanity and the Prophet is this ummah of the Prophet ﷺ, the people who claim to believe in the Prophet ﷺ. What was his message of justice? What was his message of tawheed? How was that message of justice, tawheed, and even hereafter connected to how relevant to our world over here?
Yeah.
Do I realize what I'm saying, Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? I am saying that if there's any question worth asking, then I have a relevant response to that. Or I prove, I show that that question is not relevant. Yeah. That's the responsibility I take upon myself. And like I was saying, yes, publicly our depiction of Islam and its perception is messed up. And at an academic level, it is true that there are professors, there are tolerant people who would exhibit their honesty and they would accept that. But in the dominant paradigms of these subjects themselves, is religion even possible? Is revelation even possible? To be quite honest, there was people in the time of the Messenger ﷺ who said that he is possessed or that he is suffering from a mental illness. If I were to honestly, as a student of psychology and psychiatry, come out and say that the predominant schools of thought in psychology and psychiatry do not leave anyone with any other choice but to reach that same conclusion that they accuse the Messenger ﷺ of.
Yeah.
But do we have people of that academic caliber who would read these subjects the way they deserve and come up with an explanation? Do we even have phenomenologists who can say that these human experiences are normal, they can be normal human experiences, or if not normal, then at least not abnormal, not towards the point of disease. Yes, special experiences, but experiences. Do we even know how to spell phenomenology? To be quite honest, have we even understood that?
I think we do. We're not going to test ourselves today.
That's what I was about to say as well. Okay, so
but that being as on the side of a joke, but
the
understanding being that where's our literacy level? Where's our level of academia? We're pumping doctors into the society without realizing that there are other academic fields that are in need of a representation, so that we can learn from them and we can sort of teach them, and so a mutual relationship can be established, and we can't always be fighting with them, and they're judging us and they're blaming us and critiquing us and we're critiquing them. That we don't specialize in these subjects to say, oh, I'm going to rip them apart and I'm going to show them how they're worth nothing. That's not the attitude with which we approach them. We approach them with an attitude of openness, but with an attitude that we have a strong, solid foundation and a tradition that we're standing on, and they can mutually benefit each other.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but then
I was going to say something very rare, I can't.
But then at the same time, it needs to be backed up with your own homework as well.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you cannot justify. Or probably, for example, if we question you about certain area within Quran, you have to go through that again and again, do your own research, talk to other people, and then come up with a formula that this is what I think is correct. Or other than that, if you do not agree to that, go ahead, read it yourself, and then go ask other people, and then formulate a judgment according to that. But now, moving on with that, how do you think that we are expected to live up to that legacy where we're not even near to the first word which says Al?
Right. So the thing, the understanding is, every single one of us is different. Every single one of us is unique. Every one of us has his own experiences, has his own personality, has his own inclinations, likes, dislikes, and the whole thing. When we own up to the legacy of the Messenger ﷺ, it doesn't mean that everyone just becomes a scholar of religion and starts preaching religion. Okay. That's not the only way. That's not what, there are avenues through media, through creativity, through, like I highlighted, one particular dimension, academia. Within academia, so many subjects that require specialization, that require explanation, that there are questions raised that require answers, that require a fruitful dialogue. And then there are other avenues. There may be someone who's dealing with the public, someone who's dealing with fulfilling a particular need of the society at that time, practical needs, but in doing so is keeping the bigger picture in mind as well. Is keeping the bigger picture in mind as well.
Muhammad Ali is a very apt example of that as well. I mean, what he's done, yes. What he has done for Muslim Ummah, I mean, great.
One of the best athletes of the previous century, if not the best athlete, when he comes up and he says that I have been stricken with this disease so that God reminds me that I'm not the best, He's the best.
Yeah.
That one dialogue that he gives, one statement that he gives, has a greater impact than anything that I've ever said in my entire 5 years.
And then there's another statement. So somebody actually was interviewing Muhammad Ali, and he actually asked him that, whether do you smoke or not? And he says, well, I do not smoke, but I keep a matchbox in my pocket, and whenever I feel like it, I just lit a match, hold it in my palm, and say to myself that if I cannot bear this fire, how will I actually bear the hellfire?
There you go. So you have
all of these messages that God is the greatest, and moving on, I mean, that's what his teachings have been. Other than that,
see, the thing is, we need to become people who achieve excellence. We are so
become examples,
and we used to. I mean, at one point, you had people, we were excelling in different fields, not just.
Now we've become people who are just satisfied with the minimal level. And we've just
But why is that? Psychologically, when you have such a powerful text, when you have such a strong historical background as well, there's so much information, it's so rich, with good stuff and bad stuff, with violence and non-violence. Why are we so complacent?
Right. The people who take it up who look at themselves as religious people, there is a predominant religious understanding that sees your religiosity to not make you people of this world, so to speak. So becoming specialists in areas of dunya, of areas of this world, are things that are looked down upon. That are things that are not looked upon as something great. That there's even a superiority that they claim that I am a religious person or I am a religious scholar and my religiosity is way superior than these meager, these lowly specialities of the things of this world. So you will see people who are of an irreligious background specialized and go to the top, and you will see people who have a religious background, they're like, no, I'll take it in the akhirah. Hello? Where did these artificial compartments come? Hereafter. Okay. I'll take it in the hereafter. Okay. My benefit, my reward is there. I'll just settle for the least over here, and dunya is evil, and dunya is lowly, and dunya. The Messenger ﷺ and the example that we get from the Quran, we don't see these artificial compartments being established.
Yeah.
When we say that the Messenger ﷺ was here to liberate people from the fire and get them into Jannah, that was one of his responsibilities, which was deeply intertwined with his social responsibility to make this world a better place, so that there is social equality, so there is economic equitable distribution of wealth, so that there is political justice.
And that there is education as well.
Exactly. All of these things were deeply intertwined with his message of the hereafter. You cannot separate one from the other. Separating one from the other is resulting in this attitude of, complacency and laziness. I'm already forgiven there to begin, and superiority complex.
Yes.
And superiority, that these artificial boundaries, that first you develop these artificial compartments, then you say one compartment is lesser, lower, my compartment is better, I am higher, I am better.
So it's actually like that you are in the ring, the opponent's there, and you're like that, I do not belong here. So I might probably not even fight, and I might even lose over here because I'm going to win hereafter. That's it.
You're going to carry on the Muhammad Ali example.
So that's what's
Try really hard.
So that's what the concept is. But then at the same time, I think over here, what our religion teaches us, that we actually are supposed to excel in whatever field or whatever thing we have picked up for ourselves, so that we can progress in it, and then we can be examples, and then we can lead. But then other than that, there's one more thing which I wanted to ask. So the leader of the time, for example, even now, okay, we have our premier, Mia Muhammad Nawaz Sharif Saab, right? Don't you think that they actually have a greater responsibility towards that as well?
Again,
and that's what you call a Khalifa.
Right. Will that qualify as a Khalifa or not is a separate discussion or debate to begin with. Yes, political authorities have greater responsibility in their own individual contexts. Okay. But that does not relieve us of our responsibility at our levels.
Exactly.
At our levels. They have their responsibility, and they need to be concerned about that, and we need to be reminding them of that they are representatives of something huge, and they have a huge level of accountability to stand for. Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, when there's an incident in which he was out on his nightly patrols, a woman was hungry, she did not have enough food for her children, and so she was just boiling stones in the kettle so that her children would just hear the noise and just stop crying and go to sleep. And she said, Allah will decide between me and Umar that I don't have enough food. Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu became so concerned. He went to his house, he picked up a bag of flour for her, food for her, and her servant offered, Amirul Mu'minin, give it to me, I'm your servant, I'll carry it. Will you carry my burden on the Day of Judgment? He said, no. He's like, so let me carry this. And he takes it to that woman, cooks food for her, and gives it to him. And that lady says, you are more rightful to be the Khalifa than Umar. He said, I'll communicate that message to him. I'll let him know. Where is this coming from? Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu is one of the people who was the most afraid of hypocrisy. He would say to one of the people to whom the messenger had given the list of the names of hypocrites, he would say, please tell me, is my name on the list?
Aww. Is
my name, he's Amirul Mu'mineen.
And when we talk about him, I think
the leader, Amirul Mu'mineen is the leader of the believers, the Khalifa of that time.
And at that time, what I've heard, I don't know whether you can actually second that as well. What I've heard is that at that point of time, there was nobody to beg for money. There was nobody to beg for food. And things were so amazing that people actually, there were no beggars at all.
Again, it's the thing, if you're carrying on with that level of responsibility.
The education was free.
Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, when he takes it to that level of responsibility on himself and he works for it, then that society, it does get developed, where there are people who have to give zakah, but there's no one to accept zakah.
Yes.
But that's after a lot of hard work. That's a lot of taking individual responsibility.
And that's a team effort. That's everyone's on the same page. But let's conclude what we wanted to say for today, and then we can wrap up.
Yeah. So to own up to the legacy of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for what he lived for, struggled for, sweat for, bled for 23 years as a prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when we own up to that, then we have to look within our own capacities. Number one, what does that responsibility entail from me? What does that demand? Right? And number two, how can I fulfill it in my environment that is in front of me? How can I fulfill it as a student? How can I fulfill it as a professional, and whatever different professional specializations are there? How can I, in my career choice, what choice can I make which will be the most contributing towards that legacy, that the world needs this, and from the legacy of the Prophet ﷺ, I can fulfill it from that angle. We're not saying that everyone become replaceable robots, lose their uniqueness and just become parrots of one particular message. That's not what we're saying. A cult demands that. A community does not demand that. A community, a Muslim community, would want for your individual uniqueness to shine forth, and you carry that message in your special way that only you can carry. If you don't do it, nobody else can.
Amazing.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. It was a wonderful, another wonderful show.
Yes.
Thank you.
And we're looking forward to many more as well.
Inshallah.
But ladies and gentlemen, once again, if you have any questions, you can write to us on our Facebook fan page, which is with the name of
Well This Morning.
On Twitter.
Well This Morning without a G.
On Daily Motion and YouTube.
Well This Morning.
And the fabulous repeat is going to be at?
The fabulous repeat will be on either at 5 past midnight or 1/4 past midnight.
All right. Either way. Just stay tuned. So 1, 2, 3. Good morning.